Continuing our look now at the best in children's television. This morning, the new kid, or dinosaur on the block.
So the big purple reptile that kids can't resist.
The big purple dinosaur.
Teaches about love, and it just kind of like soothes the kids.
And always, there's that signature song.
You have found us. And you're like, wait, what? No, this is Purple Tales Podcast. Welcome. And Carey Stenson, Barney.
How are you, Nancy?
I'm Nancy,
yes,
co-host.
Yes.
Co-host Nancy J. And, people I know are listening to us as podcasts.
Yes.
But also, if you want to see us, because we do show pictures often and so on, and you want to kind of see how we look, especially how all of the Barney people look after all these years, be sure and look for us on YouTube.
I think we're all doing pretty well, too.
I think absolutely. Carey, how are you?
I am wonderful,
You look
Nancy.
very nice today. You love the dots, don't you?
A little bit.
You like it?
Yeah, a little bit.
No, it looks very, very nice.
Thank you.
I know you have been working fast and furiously, booking guests and
Yes,
talking to people.
yes.
How is that coming along?
Amazing. These memories are coming back, and it's so exciting. All the different people we've got coming on.
I'll tell you whose name I keep hearing all the time.
Yes.
I've been reading it, and that we're getting notes from people.
Yes.
Bob West. Everyone wants Bob West.
Bob West will be here.
And Bob is?
He's the original voice of Barney. He is excited, can't wait, and very exciting. Here, we'll break some news here. He is going to take on Facebook questions from the fans. Can ask Bob questions, and he is going to answer them here at Purple Tales Podcast.
Excellent. And you know what? Maybe we should also encourage people to go to purpletalespodcast.com.
Absolutely.
Ask some questions and of people we have coming up. Or if there's somebody that you haven't heard that we're going to have yet, just go ahead and ask it, and we'll just put it in the file.
Yes, some of the original Backyard Gang kids will be on here very soon.
See, there's a difference between the original Backyard Gang and then the episodic kids.
That's right. So the first 3 videos were the Backyard Gang. That was the Sandy Duncan episodes. And then when the TV show, that's when they switched to Barney and Friends. Okay. So we've got some of the original kids. One of the kids from the very beginning will be here.
And who's that?
Coming up soon. Brian Epps. Everyone's been asking about Brian Epps. So
he's a rapper now, right?
No, that's Ricky Carter.
Oh dear. Okay,
who played Derek.
So we've got him coming up too. Okay, I'm sorry.
Do.
So Brian Epps was one of their first kids.
He was. Yes, he played Michael. Everyone's been wanting. So we're going to be very excited to have him on the show.
Great. Well, and
and what's so exciting is that he has kids now. And so he's going to get to, they don't really understand how big Barney was back then. So he gets to tell these stories, which I think is going to be so exciting.
I like that. I mean, I cannot wait to have all these people on. And I've got to tell you, last week's guest, Marissa.
Yes.
She has a whole new level of fame out there and a fan club. Everyone, Fred Holmes, one of the directors, was talking about how wonderful.
I love Fred Holmes.
And it says she's still got that same wonderful smile. Dana wrote that she said she was so happy because Hannah was her favorite Barney kid. Same thing from Ando. My favorite character was Marissa. Yeah. So that's pretty neat that we had her on.
Yes. Well, and I saw on Facebook with Marissa that she was able to connect with some of the kids that she was on with.
Oh, my gosh.
So all the kids are kind of connecting again. And a lot of the Barney people are connecting that haven't talked to in years. In fact, Bob told me he's talked to some people that he hadn't talked to in a long time. So it's really fun how everyone's kind of connecting.
Well, and it's nice because the Barney creators and people who made this happen, the ins, the out, in the costume, out of the costume, all of the whole business of Barney.
Yes.
You all are connecting, but we're also connecting with new fans, past fans, future fans.
Absolutely. Well, you see it too, Nancy, all the letters that we get each week. What a difference Barney made in their lives. And I think it's so exciting for them to see all of the people. They saw the dinosaurs and they saw some of the cast, but all of the people that loved it and cared about it and made it for all of these fans.
Well, just how it was all put together.
Yes.
I mean, just the whole technical thing. And I found something.
Okay. What do you got for me?
Well, and it has to do with the business of Barney.
Okay.
I love this. This was from a man who is involved with business development at a company called 2020 Companies. And he's first line, who remembers Barney the Purple Dinosaur? If you remember him, you're thinking to yourself, where is this column going and what does it have to do with business?
Right.
If you do not remember Barney, you have missed out on one of the most hyped television programs for children in the 1990s. Barney was a rock star to children. Parents viewed Barney as overbearing and annoying. Not all parents, but some. But
Sure.
anyway, he goes on to talk about how much he liked Barney the Purple Dinosaur because he taught through song and spoken word, and that the key principle was to remember basic manners and treat people fairly. And he said, the whole idea that business professionals forget is the business of Barney, which is please and thank you.
Yes.
And he said if people would not take that for granted and just start using their manners, that those are the magic words, please and thank you, that will help in business. And that really was what Barney was all about.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So there's the business of Barney to this day.
Well, and that was a big part that I did when I first started with Barney, is that's the end that I did. So I did a lot of going out and before the tour, I was doing events. So I was out and I did the White House, the Easter egg, all of that, the roll, all of that stuff. And one of the people that I did it with is actually here today. So we're gonna go in a completely different direction today.
Could it have something to do with the business of Barney?
It could, and the
my.
PR.
We're getting good at this.
Yes, we are. We've done this once or twice now. We're
Yes.
finally starting to figure it out.
Do the grand introduction.
So we have Jackie Smith here today.
Hey, Jackie Smith.
Hi, everybody.
So good to see you again, Jackie.
It's likewise. I was so excited when I saw that you were doing this series, and you posted about it on LinkedIn. I had to share with everyone I knew. I was so excited because I remember those days fondly, and it really has made me who I am today, and I'll get to that later, I'm sure.
So you were Barney's publicist. Barney had people?
Barney had people. He had an entourage, and I was fortunate enough to be part of that group of people. And you were talking about the business of Barney. That is very much part of what I did. I didn't do business deals. I talked about the business deals. So PR for Barney was in support of all those live events like Carey's talked about, the concert tours that you've talked about, and the home entertainment releases,
And the hospitals too, right?
Oh, yeah.
All of that.
That's part of what we call corporate social responsibility. And what I love about Barney, and Nancy and I talked about that on the phone yesterday when we briefly visited. What I loved about that and those appearances is we were going to do them regardless. Now, part of my job was to let media know that while Barney was in town for his concert or for his appearance, we were also going to go to the hospital and visit the children there. And sure, I would love it if they would come and see Barney interact with the kids and see his show for the kids who couldn't leave the hospital for a show. What really spoke to me, is we were going to do the visit regardless.
Love
Amazing.
pictures. That's beautiful.
Yeah. That was part of who Barney was and who we were as a company. Is we were going to do this visit. If media wanted to come, that's great. We'll welcome you there. And we've got a whole process to do that. But we'll be there.
And I love that you're saying this because when it first started going and it exploded, I would have people call me about all the money Barney was making, this and that. And I said, but you don't understand the commitment that they make. All of the hospitals, all of the giving back that they do, like you said, no matter what. It wasn't if media was going to, no matter what, they were committed to doing that. And you can see she's tearing up. It changed my life.
Yeah.
It absolutely changed my life. And the company, it was so important to them.
Well, I think we need to talk to Jackie about where you were before Barney.
Yes.
Because you mentioned media.
Yes. Well, to do PR, you have to have a certain understanding of how media works. And I was fortunate to be able to bring that to the table when they were looking to add to the PR team, I didn't have any PR experience. I vaguely had an understanding of what it was, but I did have media experience in spades. So I had always wanted to work in news, and I did that here in Dallas. I worked for for CNN and the Dallas bureau. I worked for KDFW and KTVT, which are the Fox and CBS stations here in Dallas. But I also worked for a few radio stations here in town. Carol D, but also warm in my heart, my very first job out of college was at a station called KEWS.
Oh my God, there's a picture of KEWS. Do you see, Carey, do you see two of the girls kind of, do you see those two people? I do. That I did not, it looks like I put my picture in there, doesn't it? Just my face.
Yes.
I was mornings.
I was nights.
We've known each other for, and now I can hug you. Oh, yay. I wanted to surprise you to let you know that you're not the only one who has pictures and friends. My road to Barney was just a little longer than yours. So there you go.
Well, I told you from the beginning of doing this, I was going to learn something new every week. And boy, I'm looking at this going, well, what is happening here?
Isn't that funny?
She anchored.
Yeah.
Well, of course, right? But I was one of the assistant producers. Again, it was my very first job out of college. I was assistant producer working nights and weekends, and I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And when you work in all news radio, you're not just writing one story about one thing. You're writing dozens of stories every day, 6 to 7 to 8 versions of a story, trying to keep it fresh. And so that definitely developed my ability to get work done fast.
Well, and you were a great writer because I would read your copy in the morning. It was the first all news. It was the first all news FM radio station in the country, and I guess after 3, 4, 5 months,
it got a short life.
It got sold.
It got sold,
and we all went our separate ways, which was led you to where you are. Yeah.
So at the end of my news career, or that portion of my career, I was working at the CBS station. Again, nights and weekends, because when you're young in the news business, that's when you're working.
Right.
Nights, weekends,
Were
holidays.
the older people nice, though, to you for the most part? Okay,
absolutely. For the most part. But one day I got a call from a friend of mine who was working at the company. It was called Lyric.
Yes.
It was right before it was purchased by Good Entertainment.
The company. This is
the company.
The Barney company.
And she was the PBS station relations manager. You remember Jill, I'm sure.
Yes.
And someone I used to work with named Denise Landry, who was the lone person on the PR team at the time, gave me a call, said, we're looking to grow our team. We think you would be a good fit. I'm like, are you interested? I was like, sure. I don't know. So, I submitted some writing samples and did the interview and got it somehow, some way. I was fortunate enough to get the gig, so to speak, and I started right as Barney was doing a zoo tour, and that was in support of a home entertainment release. Now, keep in mind, I had no business background whatsoever. I had a learning curve here because while I knew a lot about media, how to book a TV show, how to write a script, what elements were needed to tell a story.
Sure.
I knew how the journalist mind worked.
Well, sure. I took on a job of a dancing dinosaur, and I didn't know how to dance, so I completely understand.
You're like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, the learning curve. I totally understand
and it
that.
seems that this is a very common thread for a lot of the people who have been a part of Barney.
Sure. We can do this.
Yeah, I can do it.
We got this.
At the time, also, there had just been an open audition for the next series of Barney and Friends.
Which was going to be the series I was coming in.
Yes.
So I was leaving the tour, and I was coming into that. So I already knew that I was going to be doing it, and they were auditioning the kids and getting everything ready while I was finishing up on the tour.
So, I learned while I was doing, and yes, I learned that PR was in support of everything. So like we talked about the live events and the concert tours, the home entertainment releases, the series on television.
Well, and those kids, real quick.
Yeah.
Who were some of those kids that auditioned for that show?
I don't remember remember.
No, but you remember those are the ones. That's Selena Gomez
Oh my gosh.
and Demi Lovato. That's the audition that they. Both
That's
of
true.
them. Yeah.
Now, I will add quickly for everyone is the Business of Barney. The offices were in a suburb of Dallas called Allen. The studios were in Addison, and it was a special treat to be able to go to the studios. So I unfortunately didn't go as often as I would like, but I'll tell you, it was magical when I did get to go. There was an actual stream that wound its way through the set.
We had 3 different studios,
Yeah.
and that was one of them. Yes.
I used to love it. I was like 30 plus years old, and I'm like running through the studio like I'm at a park. But yes, the Business of Barney also includes the toys, what people often refer to as stuffed animals. It's called plush in the business. You guys have talked about the wonderful plush.
And it gets talked about constantly. You
I
see
know.
Yes.
That was kind of new to me.
Yes.
Constantly the
but
fans
also
ask about it.
the tie-ins like diapers and juice boxes. There is a multi-million-dollar, or there was, I think there still is, it's owned by Mattel. I don't know the details. But when I was there, it was a multi-million-dollar business behind the stuffed purple dinosaur that came to life. And so I have brought a few little stats. These are stats that...
Oh, excellent. I love this.
We're excited today, Nancy. We're banging the heck out of the mics. For anyone, by the way.
I know, but see what I like about this is newsy.
There's a lot of energy going on in here.
I love
this.
it.
Okay.
You gotta tell a story with facts, right?
Yes.
So these factoids, if you will, were true when I was there. I do not know what they are now. So I'll caveat this.
So what years are we talking about here?
When I was there 2001 through the end of 2004.
Okay.
So at that time, these are the stats I was using in the stories I was telling about Barney. More than 65 million copies of various Barney videos had been sold at that time. More than 100 million books had been sold worldwide. And the series aired on 320 public television stations and in more than 100 countries. The show had an average audience of 6 million viewers. Yes. Astonishing. So yeah, I was able to experience Barney working directly with the kids and seeing how they would just hang on. They'd hug them and hang on to telling...
Because all the meet and greets and all that,
Yes.
that you were there and you got to see that.
Yes, to working with the Wall Street Journal, working with New York Times to talk about stats like these that really tell another side of his story.
So what were these reporters wanting to know about Barney? I mean, were there times where was Barney actually interviewed, and how?
Oh, sure.
I mean, who talked and where was Barney and who was the suit? And I mean, how did this work?
Well, I worked with media all over the country, whether it was the Today Show or Live with Regis and Kelly at the time, the Associated Press, to People Magazine, TV Guide, local media. It just depended on what it was that we wanted to talk about. You know, were we talking about
Yes.
the stage show tour coming to town? That's one story. Are we talking about the new series coming to PBS? That's a different story. And different people that they would interview. But for Barney, yes, we did interviews. Absolutely, we did interviews. And
I did every morning show across the
yes.
country.
So sometimes we'd do interviews where we'd have a spokesperson with Barney because the Barney voice either couldn't be there, or for one reason or another, we decided that he wouldn't be there.
Almost like a translator.
Right. And so they'd act as a translator, and Barney had a few tracked songs that we could use.
You could do a performance.
Right. And then sometimes we would do interviews, just the Barney voice. That would be at radio stations or print journalists, right? And occasionally we'd have both there. If it was like the Today Show,
Sure.
everybody's going to be there.
We did Regis and the Today Show.
We did. So that being said, in the case of radio interviews, for example, I'd take the voice, and they all were always surprised. Like, they expected the 7-foot tall purple dinosaur to be there, and the
Yes.
look on their faces, like, what?
And we're all different stations and formats interested?
Yes, they were. Of course, we did a lot of ticket giveaways with the stations, as you do when you go on tour. And one of my favorite memories, this was so funny. And I would do it if I knew the lyrics, but I don't. So we were in, I want to say it was El Paso. We were doing a PBS tour. And we were going to hit a couple radio stations up while we were there, morning radio. That's another thing about PR, by the way. You're working from like 4 a.m. till
Right.
whenever the day ends.
So I had many.
Yeah, early calls. Early calls. And so I took Barney voice. It was not Bob West. It was not Dean. It was Tim.
Yes.
And we go to this, we hit a couple stations and we end up at this urban station. And by urban, I mean they play rap music. But the industry calls it urban. So we go. First, they're kind of surprised. They're expecting a dinosaur. This ordinary guy shows up. But that's okay. They're totally bought into the scenario. They're talking about this big dinosaur that's in their studio. He's here to talk to everyone, and he's taking kids' calls. So little kids are calling, they're on their way to school, mom in the car, and they're asking Barney questions. Now, we've got a set of questions that are usually asked, and we have a pat answer. We've answered the question enough that we know what our answer is. This one little kid asked, "What size shoe does Barney wear? What size shoe do you wear, Barney?" And Tim's like, "Oh my God, what size shoe do I wear?" I mean, he's thinking it. I see his eyes wide. He's like, and in his mind, as he tells me later, he's doing calculations. Well, Shaq's foot is this, and he wears this size. So Barney is this bigger than Shaq. So he's estimating what his shoe size will be. And he says it with pure confidence, like, of course this is my shoe size.
Wow.
It was hilarious. It was hilarious to me because I knew what was going on in his head. And look at my face, like, no one's ever asked that before. But that same visit, the DJs asked if Barney had a favorite song or favorite rap song, favorite rapper. Again, I'm thinking in my head, oh boy, we're stuck now. No, Tim belts out without hesitation in Barney character, Rapper's Delight. From start to finish.
I don't suppose you have that anywhere.
I don't. I wish I did. And the look on my face, the look on the DJ's faces, we were like jaw dropped. Wow, what a moment. And they did use that for the station for a couple years because who can beat that, right? So that was a great
People
one.
ask, we've all gone through that.
Yeah.
You do a lot of live performances. I did several of them, morning show in Mexico City. Well, I don't speak Spanish. And I went on and they gave me 5 words to listen for. 5 words to listen for. Mm-hmm. And I went out there not understanding a thing. And I danced and we hugged and have no clue what happened. And same with people. Every one of us was like, how is this going to work?
Yeah. There was something else that was challenging for TV appearances is if they're going to have kids on set, the producers, are going to have kids on set. Usually everyone that works at the station brings their kids and they set them up around you have to have, we learned before I got there, you got to have Barney meet the kids first because you do not want kids in their, they see him on TV. They don't realize how big he is. So much like those kids you see crying when they meet Santa or the Easter Bunny, you don't want that. You don't want that experience. So we'd always have Barney meet the kids before the segment.
Because he's not only big,
but
he does big movements. So he's even bigger. And
that tail can take you out.
So I've heard. So we have heard.
Right.
So did you all travel together then on some of these?
Some of these, absolutely. I wasn't fortunate enough to travel from city to city on the buses for the big tours, but I would go to the opening night city. Usually I would go to the city that was kind of the training wheels, show, and then the big opening night, which is typically someplace like Radio City Music Hall, and then big markets. But I had wonderful counterparts on tour that I could set up the media appearances or the media coming to the venue, and then someone would make sure everybody got up and went and did it.
But you're dealing with so many different variables, so many, different Barneys, different kids, different. I mean, how did you keep everybody straight?
We had how did we do that, Carey?
Do you remember, were you part of the Philadelphia 76ers game because this hits everything that you're talking about? It was
so.
I think you were there. It was Dean and myself, and we went out on one of the breaks. So the idea was Barney was going to go. I had a jersey.
Oh, yes.
You were. So Barney has the jersey, and I'm thinking, now how is this going to? It's sold out, and I'm going to run out on the court, and I'm going to hand out the T-shirts to kids. And they play the I Love You song. I go out, and the whole arena boos me. I don't know if you remember this. Boos me.
Blocked it.
And I'm out there, whatever that is, 15, 18,000 people booing me. And as soon as I handed a T-shirt to a little kid, they completely flipped around and started applauding and went crazy. Mm-hmm. And that's what we saw over those years, is that adults did not get it. They heard the song, and that immediately started the booze. And then I come skipping out to 18,000 people booing me. And as soon as I reacted with those kids, then they got it. Oh, this is, and the kids lit up and they hugged me and it went crazy. Yeah. I remember that so well because Dean was up in the booth. I thought, you lucky son of a gun. I'm out here getting booed.
What's going to happen?
And you all are away from that, but it was incredible. And that's the experience you saw a lot.
Yeah. We as adults, or adults in general, have developed a certain cynicism, skepticism about the world, right?
Yes.
And I would say journalists are doubly so. They just, if something's too sweet, it's immediately under suspicion. And so I dealt with that quite a bit working with the media. What I needed them to do was, they'd want to trip him up in interviews. They'd want to grill him. They'd want to get him somehow to admit that he's some dude that voices, Barney,
yes.
and is not this 200 million year old dinosaur.
Yes.
And when Barney does interviews, he is Barney, and I make that clear. I would make that clear going into an interview. This is who you're talking to. Do not make do not mistake. You're talking to a 200 million year old dinosaur.
Yeah. Well, and I told you that the responsibility. You were always in character. Carey was gone. Whoever everyone, we were gone.
Yeah.
It was the character.
Yeah.
We learned that from the beginning because we saw how important it was to the kids. So,
and we needed the media to buy in to the idea and to pretend, which is what Barney's all about, right?
The imagination.
Using your imagination to pretend that this dinosaur is boop, 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 Colin.
Who was the toughest that you can recall? I mean, do you remember anyone that just kind of stands out and you had a hard time with?
Don't. And maybe that's because we did so many interviews, which is
or you're just that good.
Oh, sure.
That's what.
No, what it is, it's Dean, Bob, Tim being that good, not breaking their character, not just going with the interview as Barney, no matter what they asked, and those were honest, sweet answers, and they didn't know what they were messing with. We're not breaking. This is who he is.
Well, sure. In the beginning, David Joyner was doing all of those big shows when it was, and David and Bob were doing those, and so they had been over the years, and it just passed on to all of us.
Right, and that's important. I thought, and I still do, to that character and to this kind of business is not breaking that, busting through that wall. We need people to buy into it and believe it And even if they don't, even if they think it's goofy, to at least enjoy the experience.
But
or like,
see, we
oh,
believed it.
yeah.
So even if they were skeptical and then we came in the room,
Oh, yeah,
we
there's
never
no
broke
denying
character
it,
because
ever.
we believed it 100%. We saw the power of it.
Yeah.
Now you were in New York together then, right? Or didn't you bring?
I can't imagine we weren't at some point.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we absolutely were.
Oh my god. Okay. So
You
this
can
was
imagine the reaction there.
was this right before Barney's Colorful World went on tour?
It might have been because
And
I
we-
came up and you took me around.
So describe.
We
the
walked
picture.
around New York.
Describe this
Okay,
picture.
so one of the stories we did while we were there was with the New York Post, and they wanted to get Barney, like the day in the life of Barney.
Yes.
So we went around New York like Barney would. Yeah,
Yep.
he's going on the subway here because that's what.
And we did. We went down there.
And the crowds loved it. We also have, I don't have them, but there were photos that I saw of crowds reacting in the subway of
Well,
like, what?
and you can't see you see those blue tent back. That was a farmer's market. We went to the farmer's market.
okay.
And that's a police officer that you can't see that's cut off.
see a little- yeah,
and
but
he had the biggest
on the
grin on
blue.
his face.
Yeah, he's holding what looks like almost a flashlight or something.
Well, it's
whatever.
the same thing because they're told that they're going to be doing security, and then all of a sudden we come bouncing in, and they're like, "What in the?"
That always just delighted my heart is just the look of people, the looks on people's faces as we went and did things like this. This was great, and I loved having this photo spread in the Post. But I loved just the looks on people's faces in New York City, totally not expecting that their day would start with seeing a dinosaur in the subway.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, kids would be, I can't believe I'm having this opportunity. Barney is right here.
Yeah.
What was the most difficult part of your job?
That is a tough question. It was a great job. I would say the most difficult part, from a tactical standpoint, when I started, he was already a classic character at this point. He was already an icon, so he wasn't fresh. He wasn't on top of people's minds every day, like whatever the hottest thing is at the moment, right? So at the time I was there, it was really trying to keep him in the news, keep him positively,
Yes.
of course, keep him, really keep him at establishing him, I would say, as a classic character that would live on forever. And so that's where we were in promoting him, no matter what he was doing. Hey, there are new episodes coming up. Hey, this new deal is signed. Hey, this and hey, that was really important to us. On a day-to-day basis, I would say, working with those skeptical journalists and getting them to buy into the idea. And then there were occasions of the Barney bashers that, you had to determine, is this something I needed to do something about? At what point do we need to do something
Crisis
about
management
it? Right.
for Barney. Oh, that's ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, wow.
And, we didn't, fortunately, during my time there weren't too many big issues. There were some issues, that we had to bring to legal. But that really more was about intellectual property issues and not so much, worrying too much about what this one guy in whatever state was saying.
It'd be different now, too. though, with all the
Absolutely, because we
social
really, that's what I was
media.
going to say. We didn't have social media
Right.
when that was all going on.
Right.
My favorite question to always ask anyone was, when you got the Barney job, reaction of friends and family.
Laughter. Everyone just thought that was goofy. Why would you do that? Huh? And again, coming from the news world, most of my friends worked in news at the time. And they would just outright say mean things about Barney to my face. And and that by then he was already in my heart by that point, immediately, I would say even. And I would say, well, that's fine. He's meant he's not for you. He's meant for preschoolers. He's meant for toddlers. They're learning, not for you, ma'am. And just pretty much leave it at that. I figured if they're going to get it, they'll get it. That day will come. And if they don't, that's okay too.
And now what do people say when they hear that you worked for Barney?
Oh, they think I am awesome. So last week, I was a speaker at the Dallas International Film Festival's High School Day. It's about 600 kids, which I didn't know going in, by the way. 600 kids rotating through sessions throughout the day. There's 4 or 5 of us speakers. And my section was all about PR in film and entertainment. So I start telling them about what I'm doing now, and then I talk about, but this is how I know I'm going to bring them in. But my very first PR job was as a publicist for Barney the Dinosaur. Now, these are high school kids. They're 16, 17. They have been alive as long as my PR career has existed. They lost their minds. They were just like, we sang songs. Yes. These kids that are too cool for a lot, right? Or, yeah, they're too cool. They're
right.
too cool.
They are.
We sang songs. We sang I Love You together. They started it. I said, well, you can't start it without finishing the song. So we all sang the song together. And then, I told them what other brands I had worked on while it hit. And they just, and then I've also worked on brands that they've adopted as they've been growing up, like Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
And they thought I was pretty cool, I would say.
Well, you are pretty cool because what you learned from Barney, you have moved on with it. I mean, it's always with you, isn't it? I mean, tell us kind of where you are today.
It
then,
is.
and what you learned from Barney.
Well, I would say, okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm doing freelance PR work. I will say that getting the job with Barney has changed my career. I mean, changed the course of my career, changed my life in so many ways. And because I thought I'd get kind of teary, I kind of wrote it down.
Okay.
So
She is in PR after all.
I know,
It's going to be
I know.
perfect.
Yes,
It's going to be perfect. Yes.
people
okay,
will know.
no, that's too much pressure. But part of PR is you're always a behind the scenes person. Not always, but usually. So this is kind of a different day for me, being in front of people. But it was truly a magical time, and a lot of people have said that, a magical time. And it's true. It's not even being corny or cliched about it. It's an honest, yes, this is what that was for me. And getting that role has really helped me determine what I do in my career in terms of what jobs I take. Now, I've made some missteps, don't get me wrong. But what I learned then and what drives me is how passionate am I about this project or this company or what they do? How passionate am I about the brand, the product, and the work I would be doing for them? And it also cemented for me the importance of loving what you do, having fun with your coworkers. It's so much fun.
We did.
The power of love and enthusiasm. I get the jobs I get, and I get the placements I get for who I work for because of that enthusiasm. Do I feel it? Do I feel it way in there? Yes. Okay, I'm going to do it. If I don't, maybe not. But most importantly, I would say the power of belief. You believe it to be true. That's what.
Your comments, Carey, on that?
Well, I love this. I can't get enough of it because you know how much I feel that way. And we talked about this from day one, from episode 1. we're not telling them to say these things. Everyone feels this way. We saw things you just can't believe. I mean, you just can't believe. And there was such a commitment level all the way through. Everyone they weren't told to. They truly believed it. They loved it.
Taught me a lot of people have a fear of failure.
Yes.
What it taught me was things will go wrong. Oftentimes the biggest fear there would be, well, what if the costume doesn't get there? And then it happens.
Right.
And then you figure it out.
Right.
And you find a way. And that has helped me throughout my career is you find a way. It's okay.
And you know what that way was? That was that Barney magic that we talk about so much.
Wait a minute. If the costume didn't show up, what did you do?
Oh, you find it.
Okay.
You find it. We had some amazing events people that really were tasked with making things happen and making them happen like clockwork. But every now and then a costume will get lost in the shipment, or it gets dropped off someplace else and where it's meant to be. I mean, this happened at a appearance that we did, and I don't remember where. And we found that costume, and our events manager, Kathy Schumack,
Yep.
would be on the phone with the shipping company and whoever dropped it off. And in the meantime, we would do, what did we do? It was one show where it was 20 minutes late. The costume wasn't there. What did we do? I don't even remember. We figured out something. We had, I think, one of the local PBS people who was there kind of stretch out the introductions. We had someone else do something to entertain the crowd until we found our way. But we did.
Well, because you got to understand some of the things we did, like we did the Macy's Day Parade. Mm-hmm. Well, you do rehearsal the night before in front of Macy's on the street, and you've got the dinosaurs out on the street of New York rehearsing their number. It's a pretty crazy thing to pull something off like that.
Yeah.
And they do it.
Yeah, dozens of people made it happen.
Yes.
So it looks like a big purple dinosaur is just showing up.
Yep.
Singing
As well it should.
And like the Philadelphia 76ers thing, there's so much work that goes into that. I just am told I get there and I go through and do my part, but there's so much that goes on way before I get there or know what's going on.
It's behind the scenes. See, that's what's so fascinating. That's what I love talking to you about this, Jackie. Have you kept in touch with any of the other Barney people other than was Carey's call out of the blue, or was it?
Well, he messaged me after he saw me post on LinkedIn. Thanks, and then the conversation grew from there. But every now and then, like these circles, just kind of.
Well, we've run into each other
Venn diagram every now and then.
State Fair, the Texas State Fair.
We did. Ran into you at the fair, and then last year I saw your photography at the fair.
Yeah, I won two of my photographs were in the state fair.
Yeah.
And
he won ribbons.
Yeah, I won. Yes.
So I was PR team. I've been on the PR team at the State Fair of Texas for the last couple of years. Another fantastic job.
Oh yeah.
But we run into each other. We are all in those circles.
Well, we too are in a big circle. Now we are completed the circle. It's all 1 degree of separation.
I've seen a picture, Nancy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Could Barney happen again? I mean, is the world too sophisticated for Barney now, for please and thank you?
No, and I'm so glad you bring up please and thank you, because we did a whole Barney push about please and thank you, and we did workshops with parents and their kids to teach them manners. We worked with the Emily Post, what's the name of their institution? Maybe it's called the Emily Post Institution, to teach them about please and thank you and inside voices, and and that was probably 2003. So it's something that Barney had always been about, certainly. And he's still alive in some respects. I still see his toys at Target.
Well, he's more alive than you realize. I had a photo shoot this morning with a kids dance company, and I was finishing up, and the shoot was done, and the teacher said to the kids, "We need to clean up," and they started singing Barney's cleanup song, having no idea who I am, nothing. And this happens all the time. I have seen this all the time, and they start singing "Clean Up, Clean Up," and I'm just smiling. And of course, the teacher doesn't even know. And there's a Barney moment happening, and I run into these all the time. And I know you see them, and obviously you saw them with those kids last week.
Yeah.
All the time.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I would love to see a Barney resurgence. And and maybe it's happening, and I'm just not part of that world.
Well, you are now. I mean, this may be a little bit of it may be a little bit of a resurgence here.
But he'll always be in my heart and my favorite dinosaur.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot here, Jackie.
Okay.
You're the PR guru, the marketing genius. What should we be saying about Purple Tales podcast? What do people need to know? I know I put you on the spot. I am. I didn't.
She doesn't have a paper for that.
I don't have that in my notes and my talking points. What we have now that we didn't have then was the power of social media and the social media influencers. And at the time, we were kind of beholden to traditional media to carry the conversation. Myself, to get it there. Them to say, yeah, we'll do it, and it happened. That's not necessarily has to be the way it works anymore.
Right.
And if you've got a fan base and you've got people, or at least people you think would be in love with it, then harness that, whether that's on Instagram or I wouldn't say Facebook, probably, we're looking at ages like 15 through what, 40?
Yeah.
35?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
easily.
No, we are.
Oh my
we,
God.
Sure.
we do know that we are actually
Right.
we are seeing that.
And older. I mean, now they're grandparents.
Absolutely.
True.
See?
Yeah.
True. So I would say there's much more opportunity now than there had ever been.
I think she's hit on something, Carey. What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
You are an absolute delight.
Oh, thank you.
Will
I
you
learned
come-
it from Barney.
Oh, thank you. Please come back.
Thank you for having me.
Oh.
It's so good to see you again. So good. Thanks, Jackie.